there, welcome back for the painting part of our lesson. We're going to be working with the majority of the colors: yellow, green, blue, red, and black, which are the colors that you have in your pack. They are these colors, so it works out perfectly. As I said on the last tape, you're going to want to make sure that you only squeeze out the colors that you need at that time. You do not want to have your paint dry on you. Acrylic paint is air dry. It is one of my favorite mediums because it is fast. You can go from start to finish on a painting in one day. And that's what I like. I call myself an instant gratification artist. So I love working with acrylic paint. It has a plasticine and a binder in it that dries quickly. If you don't want it drying quickly, you will need to get a extender. They're sold at art supply stores in the fine arts department. It's a liquid that you can add to your paint that extends the drying time. But for this, we don't need it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to first show you our paintbrush. You have bristles, you have a barrel, and then you have the handle. The bristles are all tied up in this barrel. The reason I'm telling you this is because if you are not careful, if you don't clean your brushes well, you will in fact cause your bristles to fall out and your brush won't last very long. So let's get started. I'm going to get my yellow out as well. You have your water here to clean your brush. You don't need to wet your brush to get started, but you will need to clean your brush after, and we're going to go over the basics with this. But make sure that you have water on hand and a napkin on hand. It's incredibly important. We're going to start with our yellow and our orange and our red. Uh-oh, we don't have orange. What do you think we need to do? What we're going to do is we're going to combine yellow and our red to make our orange. Now don't just stir the whole thing all at once because it may get too red or too yellow. You want to do a little bit at a time. I actually really like this shade of orange. You go with whatever color shading you would like. And I'm going to start with the sky. The sky, as well as the whole painting, are pretty much strips of paint. Try to smooth out your paint. You don't want blobs of paint. I'm just going to do lines of color just with my orange. Nice and smooth. Let's do one more line of color. Notice I'm actually painting onto the blue tape. Make sure you don't go under the blue tape, so you may want to press around it to make sure it's okay. I'm going to take my yellow, add some yellow lines and streaks. It's very subtle right now. It'll start coming to life in a little bit once we start adding the darker colors. One more over here. The key is to try and cover all of the white specks. I'm going to take my red and I'm going to paint it. I'm trying to get up to the edges. That's why I'm going back and forth. Normally I wouldn't have gone back and forth, but these sides are very important to make sure that you have a nice crisp corner. Painting your little stripes. If you find that your paint is really thick, you can add a touch of water to it. Don't add too much, just a little bit. One more stripe here. And then I'm going to come back with some yellow. Notice I didn't clean my brush. That's on purpose. I want these colors to blend. So I'm just adding yellows and oranges and little long stripes. I don't want it to look like a flag in the background. I want it to just be stripey. And then I'm also going to add just a tiny bit of blue off into the distance. And that is just his sky trying to show through, and it just doesn't want to. I'm going to wash off my blue. To wash this off, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to stir it into my water. I'm going to pretend it's chocolate milk and all the chocolate's on the bottom. And this is my spoon. And I want to stir, stir, stir. So you make sure that spoon hits the bottom of your cup. Stir, stir, stir. And what that does is it breaks all the paint free of the brush. Once you think you've got it nice and clean, drag it gently up the side of your cup. Set the cup aside and dry your brush. There's a little bit of yellow still on there, but that's okay. Drag. Don't do this. Give your brush a bad hair day. Bad, bad, bad. Let's go ahead and head to the land on both sides. Same basic concept that we did up above. But for this one, we're going to take the swerve or the curve of the land rather than straight across. So I'll curve it. There's my orange. Let's do some yellow in here. I'm going to go all the way into my poles, railings. I'm filling it in with the yellow because it just makes the red blend a little better. I'll come in with my red. Swerve it. Not really worried about the other areas as well because those are going to get covered with darker colors. And the darker the color, the odds are it will cover better. Plus, there's a little bit of red that pops in through that mountain range or whatever that is anyway, so it's okay if it's kind of in there. Just fill with swerves of color. Add yellows where you think you need yellows, and blues where you need blues, reds where you need reds. I'm switching over to my blue. I'm going to add little bits of blue in here. Oops, I have too much. So I'm going to take my brush and take most of it off on a napkin. Just dip that in there. A little more blue over here too. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and clean off the brush again because there's blue on it. I want to do the face and the hands. So we're going to do the whole process again. It's the same basic colors. Fill in the face. But with the face, we're going to avoid the red. So some orange in there. Hands as well. And then fill in the whole thing because I'm going to finish it with some yellow. Now I said I wasn't going to add any red, but I think that I need to just take a very teeny tiny bit on my brush, barely any on there, and add just a little bit around the edging. I think that's going to help it pop out a little bit better. If you drag it into the yellow and orange mixture, it's going to eventually fade away, and that gives it a rounded look. It's very pleasing to the eye. I'm going to do it on the hand as well. Barely any on that brush. I did not goop it on there. This is not a spoon. I know I use the analogy for cleaning it, but it's not a spoon. Don't scoop paint. Drag it out. Drag it out. Clean off that brush. And let's do some water and some land. The water and the land is basically going to be the blue and the red and the green. Let me get my green open. We're going to start with green. What? Why would we do green first? Because we want it just to pop out. We don't want it to be a top color. So throw that green in there. And I'm going to go ahead and do it this way too. This is where it's important though that you don't paint into the head. But you can paint into the railings because we want it to show through the railings. And the only way to really do that is to paint over it. Notice you can still see my railings. If you can't see your railings, you're putting your paint on too thick. Okay? So thin it up. Make sure you get to your very edges. Gentle around the head. If it overlaps some of your red, that's okay. It's a very expressionistic picture. It is not a realism picture, which means color is just important to the overall composition of this picture as the subject matter, because color tells emotion. Ever walk into a red kitchen? You get hungry faster. I'm not just making that up, it's true. Babies cry more in yellow nurseries. I went ahead and grabbed some blue on my brush. I didn't clean it off. Just grab the blue. I'm going to go right on top. Color theory is a very interesting thing to learn. I enjoyed that very much in college. I'm just doing streaks, streaks, streaks. I'm going to take a little bit of red, throw in a little bit of streaks. How's that looking? I can see some up here, so I'm going to take some blue. I'm going to add more. Alright, so let's go ahead and add our water. This water needs to go in the streaks following the current. Drag them a few times so they spread out and blend with the green. Don't go into the head. Make your water nice and streaky. Whoops, I almost grabbed the green. Nice and streaky. Look at that, I missed a whole section over here. That's okay. Fill in all white spots. They don't go away. Fill them in. My little students, I guess they just assume that eventually it's going to smear into it, but it doesn't. They don't go, they stay. You'll have white speckles. Not pretty. A little more. And a little more. Okay. Let's add a little touch of red. Just throughout. Just drag it in a few times and it'll blend into a purple and just look like ripples in water. We're going to go ahead and start on our land. which is more than likely a boardwalk of some sort, I'm sure. I'm out of orange, so I'm going to make some more. I'm going to take my yellow. I'm going to mix it with my red, barely any red. Stir it up. Blend, blend, blend. When I get it the way I want it, I'm going to paint my streaks. Now, because I have a dirty brush, it's already starting to streak. That's a good thing. So there's my orange. Let's do some yellow. And some red. If you work quick, they'll blend easily. A little more. Don't go into your poles yet. A little more orange. A little more yellow. Just work with whatever colors you feel it needs. You don't have to follow mine exactly. If you think it needs a color, add it. If you want to add some green, add some green. In fact, watch this. I'm going to touch some green in there. Throw some in there. Streak it down. I'm going to touch some blue and throw it in there. I could leave it like that, but I don't want to. I'm going to keep dragging it. Drag, drag, drag. Cool, huh? And let's work on the railing. The railing is going to have a blue side and poles in a reddish top. So you might have to look kind of closely, but there's one of my railings. I'm going to come on down all the way. Remember we had one in here. Railing. Got one right here I can see. And another one here. And let's add one up there. So you got your stripes. Now I have a hard time coming down at an angle, so I'm going to slightly turn my paper. Hopefully it doesn't mess you up too much. If you find it helps you, then definitely do so as well. I'll pull it in a little bit so you can see this next part. I want to work on my stripes now. You can use your little brush, you can use your large brush if you're comfortable with that as well. I'm going to do my bottom row all the way down. Remember, get skinny towards the top. There's a row. We have a row right here. You really have to look closely at your drawing. Or you can freehand it, because it's just 3 stripes coming out. And then I have one right here I can see. And now I'm going to take my red and come on the top of that, because that is the top of my rail. If I grab orange in with it, it's okay. Top of my rail. I'm going to go all the way. Remember, it gets wider as it comes out. And then the last thing we're going to work on is adding a touch of red to your poles. And I want to add a little more color where the poles meet. I think it needs to be a little darker. There's not really a wrong way to do art. So keep that in mind when you're working on your piece. If you want to add something, add something. It's okay. This is your version of it, not his. So we have a red stripe, a blue stripe, a water stripe. Red stripe, blue stripe, water, red, blue, land. I'm not even going to clean this brush because the reds and blues that are on here are perfect for in his body. But you're also going to need the black that is in your paint set as well. This black we're going to mix in for the body. I grabbed a little bit of black. I'm going to add some black swervies, but I don't want too much black in there. So I think that's probably about all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to come into my blue. I want to fill in my blue body. Since I have black on my brush, it's going to automatically blend in with my blue and give me a neat look that I'm actually going for. Arms. Outfit. I mean, it looks almost like a dress, but I know it's not a dress, but it looks like it. So drag out your black. I kind of let my black dry a little too much, so you may have to put more black on there after. But I don't know, I kind of like it. Outfit. The more you drag through the black, the more it's going to re-wet itself and smear. And then I think, even though it's not on here, I think it needs some more black details. I'm going to use just barely any black on the tip of my brush. And I'm going to come in and gently draw out my shirt line. Add a little bit over here too. I think that brings it out a little bit more. Maybe blend it in a touch because I don't want like an outline as if it were a cartoon. I want to wipe off everything that's on this brush. I'm not cleaning it, I'm just wiping it off. Barely touch the red. Come to the mouth. Actually, you know what? Switch that over. Orange. Fill in that mouth. Touch the nose. Grab a little blue. Touch the eyes. Take this black, barely any on your brush, and start adding some highlights or shadows. Shadows are dark, highlights are light. We need to bring him out a little bit. I'm literally using the very tip. I'm using the bristles sticking out, not necessarily the brush itself. Now is where you can add a little bit of black anywhere you feel you need it. And there, I think I like the way that is. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see this next part. What you're going to want to do is gently, oh so gently, start to pick up your tape. Now, hold it with one hand. Take this piece. Keep it almost flat to the paper. Pull down super softly. There's no rush. You don't want to hurt your paper. Come to the top. Pull up. and final. Got a little bit trying to lift up off of my paper right there, so you want to be very careful with that. There is our finished product. So one last thing that you're going to want to do, every artist signs their artwork and date it 2016. There you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed your Edvard Munch Scream lesson. I know it was a little difficult. I'm confident that you were able to knock this one out of the ballpark. If you have any problems or questions, please feel free to call me directly, 985-381-7012, because I am here to guide you and help you. And I know it's a lot more fun to speak to a person than to work, emailing somebody. So give me a call if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to see your finished products. Please post them, text them, email them. I'd love, love, love to see them. Well, have a wonderful creative day. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.